Okay, Coach, obviously not as what you guys wanted last week. Just what would you kind of, having a couple of days to look at it, any thoughts from the game?
Played really well and played not so well. And that's kind of been the MO for a better part of the last 6 to 8 weeks. There's some really highs that we really enjoy, play well with, and for and in. And then some lows that kind of take place, and it's we're 7 to 10 points down and can't crawl back out of it. Defense, we've got to get off the ball on third down or off the field on third down. And, looking at their 6 touchdowns, one was a short field with a fumble return by Mike, the kick return fumble by Mike. But of their 6 touchdowns, 5 of them were either one play touchdown series, an explosive play, which is 20-plus yards, or on third down. So that's 5 of the 6 times where it's either one play and they score, it's a third down and they score, or it's an explosive play and they score. But we buckled down in the second half, mustered up enough to be able to get possessions to the offense. In the fourth quarter, just couldn't do anything with it. Going into that fourth quarter down 7, felt like we were right where we needed to be to be able to get back in the ball game and push things square. But against a really good team, you have even less margin for error. Played them toe-to-toe for about 3.5 quarters, and then they hit that 3rd and 7. Big first down for a touchdown and pushed to 14. So played them well, but not well enough. Got to bounce back. We'll be ready to go this Saturday.
I know you talked about limiting their big plays or explosive plays. Just what's kind of the key, you think, to solving that problem?
I think it's kind of a week in and week out deal. It's not making plays on the ball through the air one week, 4 or 5 times. Then the next week maybe you're not gap sound in the run game. Then maybe you are gap sound, but you miss tackles in the hole. I think a lot of different variables have added to the explosive plays, and when you give up explosive plays, that's going to look statistically not so great. When you're almost 7.5 yards per play given up on the better part of the season, that's tough to come back from when they're 2nd and 2 a lot of the time. Guys are digging, scrapping, clawing, but we've got to make plays in the air. On the ball consistently, not just Dejan. In big moments, we got to be gap sound. When we are gap sound, make tackles in the hole, make them work for first downs. We've given too many first down opportunities away, and we always want a turnover too. If we can get there, they're harder to come by this year than most years. But each one of those turnovers becomes a possession for our offense, and we're relying on scoring points. And this day and age, teams are trying to shorten the game a little bit and playing 6-8 minute drives, and so your drives are between 8 and 10 possessions a game, which 6-8 years ago was 12 to 13 a game. So you got to maximize your points on offense. You got to minimize the points when you're playing defense. And we haven't necessarily been able to do that on defense, minimize the points. And so we've tried to, do everything we can to keep pace throughout the course of the game. We've just not gotten over the hump in the first 9 games. So, but it's not for lack of trying. It's just lack of execution of pockets. But overall, proud of our guys, fighters, and they're competitors. And when you're a competitor, it doesn't matter what the week is or what the outcome was. They're ready to get back to work and prove that they're going to score more points than the other team in the near future.
Obviously, Jared started at quarterback. You could see what he could do running the ball. How did you see him as a passer? What he developed from, say, last year to this year?
Well, I think he's got 3 kind of extensive opportunities in his career. Idaho last year, didn't throw very many times. Mainly kept the ball on the ground, and played. We played really good football offensively, and he was a big part of that. Then he had Nevada, played a fair amount of snaps in Nevada, threw the ball a little bit more, obviously, than Idaho. But then this go-around, you're not going to be able to win just putting it on the floor. I think he did a great job for the better part of the day. Overall, we were, I think, 22 of 30 on the day, and Mike having a couple of those throws. But when you're operating the way he is on the ground in the run game, hitting holes, moving the sticks, and then you're also throwing for 60% percentage clip, and he had the one error, but it didn't cost us. I mean, those things are going to happen when you put the ball in the air, and they're going to pick the ball off, especially a really talented defense. But Jared's a guy we can win Big Sky games with. He's proven to keep us in the game and 2 of the games he started. Idaho last year and Montana State this year, top 10 teams, and more than did his part. And his energy and competitiveness is contagious. It shows. He's a warrior, always has been, always will be, and he's played well on the biggest stages he's been presented.
The team's been pretty effective at running the ball. I mean, I'm sure you probably want more yards out of them. What do you think is just the biggest key to improving that, and what's been the biggest, has that become an advantage this season?
Well, I think one thing comes to mind, that if you get, throwing the ball opens up the run game usually. You have the quarterback to the run game, that gives you a few more, play calls in the playbook. I think we've got to find the number 2, number 3 receiver here in the next, few games that we can really count on and get the ball 2, 3, or 4 times to be able to get safeties, out of the box and not play so low at level 2. But when you got experience front, when you got tight ends that are willing to block before, they're catching balls, and when you're getting running backs and not running the ball but block for the quarterback running the ball, you're successful at 200 yards plus per game. And so to maintain possessions, keep the opposing team's offense off the field, we're going to be 8, 10, 12 play increments. Series-wise, we have to be that way. That's the way we're kind of built right now, just because we have Efton and then we have a collection of other guys that haven't really stepped into that second receiver role. Guys have made big catches. Cole Pruitt last week, a couple. Wes Garrett the last couple games made a couple, but someone that we can go to 4 or 5 times a game outside Efton. So I think in a weird way, if we can loosen up the defense through the air, that will present a little bit more of the ground game. But I'll be honest, the better part of the year, the ground game's been really well called, really well coached, and really well executed by the guys up front, tight ends and quarterbacks, and even the receivers. They don't get enough credit for blocking in the run game. So when you have games where we're 250. It's not just because there's big holes. We're not a team that's going to scoop for 75 or 80 explosively in a run game. It's going to be 10, it's going to be 12, it's going to be 4, it's going to be 8, it's going to be 11. We're going to methodically kind of lean on defenses, and we've done that for better part of the year, but especially in conference against really, really good fronts, really, really good defenses. And so we've kind of bowed our neck a little bit and hope to continue that.
Going back to Greeley, first time since 21, we didn't play UNC last year. What do you see from them?
Team that likes to run the ball first, second, and third down if possible. They want to possess the ball. They want to shorten the game. They want to lean on their running backs, their quarterback run game. They've played with some different quarterbacks. They've had injuries like everybody else in the country this late in the year. They try to keep you off balance. They don't get too exotic in their approach offensively, but they will give you some different run schemes. Their front's big. They got guys who can do it. We can't allow them or allow us to beat ourselves, so it gives them opportunities to extend drives. That's the biggest deal. We got to play gaps down. We got to do our job, and sometimes our job is not necessarily making the tackle, is making the play. And sometimes making the play isn't making the tackle. It's allowing someone else to make the tackle because you ate up a block and someone else came in and made the tackle. Defensively, their front 4 D-line are all seniors, so they got a ton of experience. They're big, they're active, they move pre-snap, post-snap. They've kind of gone through an identity change through the middle part of the year where they're a little bit more 4-down oriented. Now they're a little bit more 5-down oriented based on formation that they see, but their strength of their defense is up front, and the strength of our offense, is our front. So it's going to be a battle of best when it comes to their defense versus our offense. Playing on the road in Greeley, been a few years before we've played them. And Coach Lamb, I respect him and his staff and what they do and how they've done it. They had a big win a couple weeks ago at Weber, first one in a long time for them. So that was fun to see him be victorious because I know him as a person on top of being a coach, and competed against him. He's as good as they come.
Going to the offensive line, Matt's kind of battled injuries his whole career. He's gotten a couple starts here. What do you see from him in his last season here?
It's crazy because I thought he, in a weird way, played some of his best ball last week against one of the best players in the conference, Bryce Grebe. And So it's fun to see a guy that's had kind of some back and forth affairs with injuries and with setbacks and then comebacks. And when you're this long in your career at offensive line, you're beat up physically, and that can beat you up mentally at times and put you in some spots to maybe not feel so good when you come back. He's a guy we count on, have counted on, but I think he's been playing his best ball the last couple of years. We all wish you could be better sooner. It didn't work out that way, but he's a guy we can lean on, count on, and he wants to finish his career on the high note that he's ending it on.
So what have you taken from Isaiah this season, just having a larger role on the line?
Yeah, obviously he's earned more reps. He's not a talkative guy by any stretch. He lets the play do the talking. High effort, high output, low ego type guy. That's who he is. He's got a young one, so he's kind of mature beyond his age. He's grown up quicker than most, and it's been fun to watch him because I think he's attacked this season differently than he attacked last season. I think there's just a different look in his eye going into this last fall, and I wanted as much success for those guys as anybody because they put a lot of work into their opportunities, and he makes the most of them. But he's not going to tell you about it. That's just not who he is. But it's fun to talk about those guys, especially those guys that do a ton of work behind the scenes and try to work to be the best of their craft, and then it shows up on Saturday. But never going to have to question his effort or his integrity as a person or a player. So he's always a consummate teammate.